Okay, so today we're going to do long division part 2. So all of our answers will have a remainder, and so that's the main difference between part 1 and part 2. All right, so on the side over here I have my does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers. And remember, the D stands for divide, the M stands for multiply, the S stands for subtract, and C to check, and B to bring down. So we're going to continue to look at those steps as we're doing our division problem. All right, we have 387 divided by 5. So the first thing I'm going to do is the D divide. So I'm going to look at my 3 and say, how many groups of 5 can go into 3? Well, I can't do any. There's no groups of 5 that can fit into 3. So I'm going to move on to my next number, which is that 8. So now I'm going to really look at how many groups of 5 can fit into 38. So if I'm thinking about my multiplication facts, I can look over here. I'm going to write 5 times 6, that equals 30. 5 times 7, that equals 35. And then 5 times 8, that equals 40. Well, I can't use 5 times 8 because that's too much. 40 is higher than 38. I don't have enough. But I'm going to use 5 times 7, which is 35. So my answer, how many times can 5 fit into 38? How many groups of 5? That's going to be 7. So now I'm going to put my 7 over the 8. Okay, because 7 groups of 5 can fit into 38. Now I'm going to do multiply. 7 times 5 equals 35. Now I'm going to subtract. 38 minus 35, that equals 3. I'm going to check. Is 3 smaller than 5? Yes. So now I can bring down my 7. And now I have 37. So I can look over at my multiplication facts over on the side too over here to help me as well. And so now I'm going to go all the way back up to the top to the D and say, okay, how many times can 5 go into 37 evenly without going over? I can do 30. I'm going to use right here my 35. So 5 can go into 37 7 times. Now I'm going to multiply. 7 times 5 is 35. And now I'm going to subtract. 37 minus 35, that equals 2. I'm going to check. Is 2 smaller than 5? Yes. Do I have anything left to bring down? No, I do not. So this down here is what I have left over. That is going to be my remainder. So I'm going to put a little R up at the top, remainder 2. That's how many I have left over. So my answer is 77, remainder 2. All right, I'm going to move down to our next problem here. And I have 8,372 divided by 4. Okay, and I do have over here my does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers. Again, to remind myself as I'm going through my problems, divide, then multiply, subtract, check, bring down, and then go all the way back up to the top again. All right, start from the beginning here. Asking myself, okay, how many groups of 4 can go into 8? That's going to be 2. Put my 2 above my 8 because that's the question that I answered. Now I'm multiplying. 2 times 4 equals 8. I'm going to subtract now. 8 minus 8 is 0. I'm going to check. Is 0 smaller than 4? Yes. Bring down my 3. So now I'm going to ask myself, how many groups of 4 can fit into 3? Well, can 4 go into 3 evenly? My answer is going to be no. That's going to be 0. How many groups? 0. So I'm going to take my 0. That's my answer, and I'm going to put it up in the top. Now I'm going to go through my steps again. 0 times 4 equals 0. Now I'm going to subtract. 3 minus 0 equals 3. Because think about it. 3 minus nothing is still 3. I'm going to check. Is 3 smaller than 4? Yes. So now I'm going to bring down my next number, which is a 7. Okay, so now I'm thinking, how many times can 4 go into 37. So over here, I'm going to write down a fact that I know. 4 times 9, okay, that is going to equal 36. So that's the fact that I'm going to use. 4 can go into 37 9 times, put my 9 right above the 7. 9 times 4 equals 36. So when I subtract, I have 1. And now I'm going to bring down my next number, which equals a 2. Back at the top again. How many times can 4 go into 12? And that is a multiplication fact that we know. That answer is 3. Put my 3 above the 2. 3 times 4, that equals 12. I'm going to subtract now. 12 minus 12, that equals 0. Check, is 0 smaller than 4? Yes. Do I have anything left to bring down? No. Okay, so right here, my remainder is actually 0. So my answer is 2,093 with a remainder of 0. All right, let's do one last one as an example. So again, does McDonald's sell cheeseburgers? Divide, multiply, subtract, check, bring down. All right. First, how many times can 2 go into 5 evenly? And again, think about your multiplication facts. 2 times 2 equals 4. 2 times 3 equals 6. This is too many, so I need to do 4. So how many times can 2 go into 5? 2 times. 2 times 2 is 4. I'm going to subtract. 5 minus 4 is 1. I'm going to check. Is 1 smaller than 2? Yes. So now I can bring down my next number, which is a 1. Now I'm going to go all the way back to the top here. How many times can 2 go into 11? That is my new number. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So it can go in 5 times. Put that 5 above the 1. 5 times 2 is 10. Now I'm going to subtract. 11 minus 10 is 1. I'm going to check. Is 1 smaller than 2? Yes. So now I can bring down my next number, which is a 4. So now I ask myself, how many times can 2 go into 14? And again, I'm counting 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So it can go in 7 times. Now I'm going to multiply. 7 times 2 equals 14. I'm going to subtract. 14 minus 14, that equals 0. I'm going to check. Is 0 smaller than 2? Yes. So I can bring down finally my last number. And again, using some of these facts over here, how many times can 2 go into 5? And it can go in 2 times without going over. Put my 2 up here. 2 times 2 equals 4. And so when I subtract 5 minus 4, that's going to give me 1. Check. Is 1 smaller than 2? Yes. Do I have anything left to bring down? That answer is no. So when I answer no, whatever is down here, whatever is left over, that becomes my remainder. So I have 1 left over. So my answer is 2,572 with a remainder of 1. 1 is left over. So if I scroll down here, you're going to see your lesson practice problems. Okay, you have 956 divided by 3 and 5,423 divided by 6.